Is it working? A bit dark in here. Let's get it a bit lighter. Okay, we've got the sun coming in a little bit. Hi guys, Louis defending Elvis Presley. Let's just make sure this is straight. Okay, part 2. So let me quickly tell you guys we're live. So I hope everyone's all right. Got cut off suddenly then. So we've come back for part 2. Let's see who joins us. I think the easiest way for me to do this is to play you some of part 1. It's a bit weird because we've already done it. Okay. So if you're new to this channel, I'm a lifelong Elvis fan. I'm in Southwest UK near Bristol. My name's Louis. Been a fan for over 50 years and we defend Elvis Presley. Hi, Emily. Sorry we got cut off. I'm going to play some of part 1 to give people an idea. I wasn't expecting to be cut off, to be honest with you. I didn't really have a choice. So I'm going to play. Let's play it. Hi, guys. This is We're live. It's funny, weird looking at myself, but... Got me a cup of tea, guys. Hi, Dee. Right, let's move this closer. A very famous back in, a while ago. I can't remember when. Let's have a look if it says a year. It was in the 90s, yeah? Alternate realities. A parallel universe. That's what we are now. I mentioned it on our last live stream. Let me play you something else. Got your cup of tea, guys? So the reason let me just see if I can jump forward a little bit. You work it out. Since it happened. Here we go. This, and it's my opinion, some of your opinion. Time has been twisted. We don't know the real truth. We've been spoon-fed and misled, in my opinion, for entertainment purposes. I want you guys to know that everything I say now is for entertainment purposes and is my opinion, some of your opinions. Now, I don't know how it happened. I don't understand it. I'm trying to understand it. Since I've become defending Elvis Presley, I've been trying to get my head around. And I'm going to use the word bizarre because I think what's happened to Elvis for the last, you work it out, since 1959 to today, yeah? Is that 65 years? Yeah? Not just since he died, since he met Priscilla. I think the unimaginable has happened, has come true. Now, let me just play one more thing. See, I like that. Right, well, that gives you a very quick idea of where we're going with this interview, with this live stream. It's part 2. Now, in part 1, we played the Graceland scammer, which is very interesting, isn't it? And one of you said that they can't believe just how far things went. It's true. Very true, guys. Now, the point of this video is I want to sort of say to you guys that that woman that scammed Graceland, beamed around the world, the Graceland scammer, she's become famous, hasn't she? There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of interest in the Graceland scammer. Everyone's talking about it. Part 2, part 3. There's been a few different updates. Now, why isn't there that kind of interest with Priscilla? Because I personally think, in my opinion, now everything I say is for entertainment purposes only and opinions. Team Elvis opinions, my opinions. Why? There's news all around the world talking about the Graceland scammer, how she nearly got away with it, how she, mass fraud. Why don't people say that about Priscilla? Why is it that all these different things have happened? Why isn't there news flashes all over the world? Why hasn't there been for the last 40 odd years? Newsflash, Priscilla did this. Newsflash, Priscilla did that. Nothing. There's nothing. Yes, there was a blip. There was a blip when Priscilla disagreed with Lisa Marie's, what's the word? What Lisa Marie wanted to happen after her death. Yeah. Obviously, she wanted it to go to her kids. Priscilla jumps in. That is all over the world in the news. But generally, Priscilla has got away with everything. Now, you think about it. Let's tell a story. Okay? So, in 1959, they meet. The world knows she was very young. They were just friends. Between 2 and 6 months, they were friends in Germany. We don't actually know the actual amount. Elvis said it was 2 months. He said, I met a little girl for a few months. We've seen the interview when he's coming out of the army. And we've already proved and worked out that Elvis goes back to his life in 1959. And before he sees Priscilla again, it's 1962. Now, from what we can see, she was bombarding him with letters, even sending him records, begging him, in our opinion, to allow her to go to Graceland, to ask her parents to allow her to go. Now, we don't really know the total truth. Was she begging the parents? Did Elvis give in to the begging or to the demanding or the love letters or whatever was happening? We don't know the actual truth. What we do know is at some point she was able to move to Graceland, this amazing world of Elvis, this celebrity world. Like, you know, it's such a different world she came from Germany with her Air Force father, parents, yeah? And then she gets beamed, really, to this, wow, Graceland, everything that entails, yeah? The most famous man in the world, the most loved man in the world, the most fancied man in the world, beautifully talented, yeah? She's there. Now, to cut a long story short, we've all been given the impression that living at Graceland was like being in a prison. She couldn't take it anymore because Elvis was being unfaithful and treating her horribly. She hated it and just wanted out and then left him. Elvis filed the divorce and then she gets on with her life with the karate instructor and gets on with her life and then moves from many different lovers. Got Mike Stone, is it Robert Kardashian, many others. The famous ones, Marco Garibaldi, Garcia, who she had Navarone with. So she gets on with her life and then you've got the different things that she did. She did a bit of TV stuff like Those Amazing Animals. Look it up on YouTube. The famous stuff we know about is Dallas. There's the 3-part comedy films. Oh, what are they called again? Forget what they're called now. But the 3 movies, yeah.
I think she wanted to do more than 3, but she did 3. Is it Leslie Nielsen? Is that the guy? Anyway, loads of different things. She opens Biss and Bow, the clothing boutique. She promotes perfumes, fragrances, a kids' clothing line, and a shampoo, Hella shampoo. She just gets on with her life. Yeah, Naked Gun, that's it. Naked Gun. Many other things. It's pretty obvious that the movie career, the TV career, the advertising campaigns wasn't very sustainable. So she'd maneuvered herself into a position of being the emperor of the Roman emperor of Graceland. Now, it's a complex story, guys, because in interviews, we are told that she saved Graceland from being sold and that it was her idea to launch Graceland as a living museum. Now, I dispute that. I think, in my opinion, that there's no way in a million years that Memphis were ever going to let Graceland be sold. It was so obvious that Graceland was going to be the biggest tourist attraction that you could ever have. It was going to be a massive benefit to Memphis. The council weren't going to just let it get sold off and closed down and split up. There's people that were involved. We've got Morgan Maxfield and his assistant, Jack Sodden. Look him up, Morgan Maxfield. At one point, it said that he was engaged to Priscilla. But there's other people involved as well. Vernon was involved. Colonel Tom Parker was involved. They're all behind the scenes trying to sort out the financial difficulties. And then they've got this big idea of launching Graceland as a living museum, but not just that, in front of Graceland. They've already started drawing up plans. Memphis City have already started drawing up plans, how they're going to create this massive attraction that is going to pull in millions of visitors to Memphis. So I'm telling you now, guys, in my opinion, there's no way Graceland was ever going to be sold off. So when I see Priscilla sit there in interviews and say, oh, I had to save it because they were going to sell it off. I had to make this decision and say, no way will that happen. Yeah. And then, I have this idea of creating a living museum. No, they weren't going to sell it. And that living museum was already planned. There's even plans online. You can find them showing that the plans were already at hand to launch Graceland as a living museum. So I'm going to play this video and I'm going to criticize. Your dad died. And I'm going to break it down. Now, the title of this part 2 of this live stream is that the original Graceland scammer is Priscilla. I'm not trying to create hate. I'm not trying to... This isn't a hate Priscilla video. I just want to defend Elvis. And unfortunately, I have to defend Elvis based on Priscilla's actions. So we're going to talk about this little bit here about saving Graceland, preventing Graceland from being sold. And then we're going to talk a little bit about this book, which to me is the biggest scam ever that has ever happened. From the point of view of the Elvis world, and the general public falling for everything in this book, this is the original scam, in my opinion. So let me just play that video. Let me just double check, you guys. Okay. So I think I'll just hold it. I was left really with nothing to work with, and it was a shock when I found out, through all the lawyers and the accountants, that we had nothing really to go back to, because it was either sell Graceland or give it up to the state. What do you give for credit? Let me just, do you hear what she says? It was either sell Graceland or give it up to the state. Yeah. Now, we don't know if that actually really happened. We don't know. Now, we know that Vernon had been dealing with, she calls it the state. Yeah. I don't know, Memphis. Yeah. We know that behind the scenes, Vernon, maybe even Colonel Tom Parker, was in discussions about creating this living museum. Maybe not initially at first at Graceland. They had plans in front of Graceland. We know that people were visiting the graves in their thousands. There was a certain time in the day where they were allowed to visit the graves. They already knew just from the amount of people visiting the graves that a living museum was a sure thing. It was definitely going to be a massive success. It was obvious. It charged them $5 a visit. It was going to make a fortune. So let's just keep listening.
For the preservation of Graceland.
PRISCILLA, no question about it.
Let me go back a bit. Let me just go back a bit. So remember, this is Jerry Schilling in the background. I personally think Jerry and Priscilla were very, really in cahoots financially. I've always thought it. There's even possibility of an affair. I don't dislike Jerry. I think Jerry's a good guy. I know Jerry loved Elvis. We know Elvis bought him a home and he still lives there. But I do think he was trying to keep, he was between a rock and a hard place. He's trying to keep Priscilla happy, who is now the boss in charge of Graceland. But he does love Elvis. So he's trying to be loyal to Elvis. Very difficult. Yeah. So he's obviously involved in this interview.
But up to the state.
What do you give credit for the preservation of Graceland?
PRISCILLA, no question about it.
Now, do you hear that? They 100%, the parents are fully backing that Priscilla is the reason that Graceland was saved and that the museum was really her idea. I completely disagree. That Graceland was going to get saved. It's just my opinion. I know that the museum was not her idea. And she actually says it herself. She says Memphis, things didn't work out with the state, so blah, blah, blah. So let's keep going.
That didn't know too much about it,
Hands down, there wouldn't be a Graceland today if it wouldn't be for Priscilla.
Right. Did you hear that? Her father says, hands down, there wouldn't be a Graceland today if it wasn't for Priscilla. Does anyone believe that? This is what I say, the original Graceland scammer. Does anyone believe that Graceland, if Priscilla hadn't have jumped in and saved the day, which she's repeated again and again, she saved everything and that Elvis would be forgotten within 5 years if she hadn't have done what she'd done? And she says that in front of her daughter. It might be in this clip. She actually says to Lisa Marie, if we hadn't have saved Graceland, your dad was going to be forgotten within 5 years. Does anyone for a second think that Elvis would have been forgotten in 5 years if Priscilla hadn't have, so-called, from her point of view, saved Graceland, opened the Living Museum? Definitely not. 100% not. Now, I know that we all agree this. Whether there is a Graceland or there isn't a Graceland, Elvis was never going to be forgotten. He had impacted the world, the whole planet, in a way that he could never be forgotten, that he was so loved. And it wasn't just his gift of singing and his movies. It was also his spirit, his soul, his beautiful personality, his charisma. And there was just something special about Elvis. Something very special that just affected the whole planet. And it's still with us today. So Graceland is not the reason Elvis is remembered. Now, is Graceland an amazing place to remind us all of how amazing Elvis was, how talented and beautiful and how good he was for the world? Yes, of course it is. But there's no way that he would have been forgotten. No way. There would have been other ways to pay tribute to Elvis. And I just don't believe that they ever would have sold it all. And I think it was inevitable. It was going to become a new museum just based on the artifacts or the Elvis's belongings. And the fact that Elvis saved everything. Vernon saved everything. Colonel Tom Parker saved everything. It was always going to be a shrine, a monument, a museum, always, of Elvis. So no, Priscilla is not the reason Elvis is remembered. Now, has Priscilla spent 50 years promoting Elvis? She definitely has. But why? For money. And it can only be for money. And I'll tell you why. She as we all know, had divorced him. In 72, it was all over. Let's face it. The official divorce, 73. She was out of there, guys. She was out of there. She was skipping down the road with Mike Stone and had Lisa Marie with her. She was gone. Elvis was throwing money at her. So this woman, who had been unfaithful, seriously unfaithful to Elvis twice, with Steve Peck in 68, with Mike Stone around 71, she wasn't interested in preserving Elvis's legacy, his reputation, his image. She wasn't interested at all. This is fact. And this is where we come into the whole that Priscilla is the original Graceland scammer. Because no one is going to tell me that in 1972, when they were going through a very horrible divorce, Priscilla demanded the divorce. We can prove it. Mike Stone has said it, his own words in interviews. You can watch it now, guys. They're recent interviews on YouTube. Mike Stone clearly saying that she chatted him up. She wanted him. She made it clear to him once they started having an affair, even though he was married with a baby on the way and a small girl, and Priscilla had befriended his wife, Frances Stone, within all those circumstances. And then eventually it all comes out and Elvis finds out. I think she even tells Elvis not 1 ounce of her was trying to preserve Graceland, trying to preserve Elvis's memory. It was all about what she wanted. I know he hadn't passed at this point. My point is this. Do any of you think that when she marched out of Graceland, we've seen it at the end of the Sofia Coppola's film, yeah? Doesn't it show her driving off into the sunset because she wants to find herself, yeah? Do any of you think that she even looked back? When she was driving out of Graceland, did she even look back? Yeah, let's have a look. Elvis would never have been forgotten, no building, yes. Which is obvious, but she will keep saying, and even to her own daughter, she says, Elvis would have been forgotten within 5 years. Ridiculous. But anyway, let's carry on what I'm saying. Do any of you think for a second that Priscilla, when she drove out of Graceland, was looking back, worried about Elvis, worried about how heartbroken, how embarrassed he was, how humiliated he was? Does anyone here think that she cared, that he was brokenhearted because his daughter was being taken away from him to live with another man who was an acquaintance of his, a karate champion, a very famous karate champion? Elvis held karate people in high regard. It was a massive passion of his. Does anyone for a second think she cared about Elvis's feelings? Could you imagine what he went through? Not only the embarrassment of a humiliating breakup, they were married. They had a child, 4 years old, maybe. I don't think Elvis even gave it a second thought about money in 1972. I think Elvis thought in 1972, oh, well, I'll just, when we break up, I'll give her some money and she'll be gone and she can get on with her life. Hopefully I'll have I'll be able to see Lisa Marie as much as possible. I think that's probably all Elvis thought. No way did Elvis for a second think that she was going to come back for a humiliating, horrible second divorce, which was so cruel. So cruel. Let's step back. So she's going down the road of Graceland, down the big driveway, the famous driveway, with Lisa Marie. Elvis knows that she's going to be living with Mike Stone. Elvis knows that the whole world is talking about it. The whole world is talking about Priscilla and her new boyfriend, and she's taken Lisa Marie with her. She's even in restaurants, shopping with Lisa Marie. A new little family, Mike Stone, Lisa Marie, and Priscilla, out and about, photographed by the paparazzi in every newspaper in the world. Elvis is at home, and he has to watch this unfold in public. And not for a few weeks, for years. They were together over 4 years. You think the hell that Elvis went through, and what really matters to him at this point. He wants to see Lisa Marie. He wants to see Lisa Marie as much as possible. Let's just read cover. Vincenzo. She didn't look back. Now, she didn't have to look back at this point. She knew she had everything she wanted. She knew Elvis was going to look after her financially. She knew she had Lisa Marie. She had a new so-called hunk of a boyfriend, the karate champion, a very successful karate champion. She knew that she'd get a home that Elvis was going to pay for. She was sorted. Yeah. Now, why everything I've just said, why is it ignored? Why isn't that in the newspapers again and again? Why do we never hear it? Why do we only hear what was in this book, Elvis and Me? We hear this, and this is the scam. And I've got more to say, but this is that part of the scam. She leaves him. She gets on with her life. She's living with Mike Stone. She's got Lisa Marie. She's broken up Mike Stone's family. Mike Stone's wife, Frances, had a baby, a small girl. Yeah? Now, why is it never mentioned? We keep watching interview after interview. We have been watching interviews for 35 to 40 years. It's never brought up. I know the very early ones, a couple of things were mentioned with Barbara and a few others. I think Mike Stone was mentioned. I don't think Steve Peck was ever mentioned. Maybe once. The dance guy, the dance instructor, I don't know. Some of you were there, you'll know. Obviously, it was in the papers when it happened, the tabloids, way back then. But I'm on about now, in the last 40 years, really, in the late 80s, after this book was brought out, yeah? 1985, is it? It's never mentioned. Never mentioned. All the wrongdoing that Priscilla did. How has she got away with it? How has Priscilla been able to go through the 80s and 90s and noughties and 2010, whatever they call that, and 2020s, and no one brings up the wrongdoing that she did to Elvis? How? That is the biggest scam. This is why I'm calling this video that Priscilla is the original Graceland scammer, because she's got away with it. Guys, come on. If I said to you now, find me an interview, a recent one, I'm on about after the 90s, yeah, which is still 35 years ago. If I said to you now, find me an interview that shows Priscilla's wrongdoing to Elvis, so her unfaithfulness, the way she treated him on the divorce, the way that she took all credit for the saving of Graceland and the launching of the Graceland Museum, and then we move on to the different relationships he had, yeah, you won't find it. You won't find an interview that mentions any of it. How has that been able to happen? Even when you look at the different TV dramas, you got the 1988 melodrama. I think it's called Elvis and Me. I can't remember. That was made for TV, I think. No mention of it. Then you've got Kurt Russell's film. No mention of it. And even if we jump forward and we've got Sofia Coppola's Priscilla film, there's no mention. All it shows in the Priscilla film, Sofia Coppola, is Mike Stone stood like that in front of her. There is no mention of her being unfaithful. There is no mention of the dance instructor. It is brushed over. And you know why? Because everyone's trying to keep Priscilla happy. Sofia Coppola trying to keep Priscilla happy. They want to keep her on side, so the book is successful. The book and the film are successful. Then you've got, if you go back a little bit, if you look at the, how can I say it? Any TV type things that are made, it always concentrates on Elvis was unfaithful, Elvis had a drug problem, Elvis had a problem, an eating disorder, Elvis had a bad temper, Elvis was controlling, he was a groomer, and it's all leans against Elvis for Priscilla. And this has happened since they split up. How? It's almost like history has been erased. Let's get a giant rubber and rub out all of Priscilla's wrongdoing. I think part of the reason this has happened is because of the power. So we've got Priscilla at the top of the triangle. This is after she managed to get and become trustee on behalf of Lisa Marie, basically owner of GRACELAND. Come on. And also owner of Elvis Presley Enterprises. This is before it was sold, yeah? So almighty power, yeah? Queen Priscilla. Everything goes through Priscilla. Everything. If you want to make a TV drama, documentary, a biography, a movie, a book, a biography, it's going to go through Priscilla, and Priscilla will control what's put in those things because she has the copyrights. Yeah, she says what goes in everything, including Baz Luhrmann's film, including Sofia Coppola's film. I like Baz Luhrmann's film, but he went out of his way to make sure Priscilla looked good. Do we agree on that? As much as we know that the Baz Luhrmann film promoted Elvis and brought in new fans and reinstalled some of his reputation and image and relaunched him, didn't it? The Baz Luhrmann film. He still had to keep Priscilla on side, Lisa on side. And to do that, he had to be careful with the storyline so it didn't make Priscilla look bad. So she come out looking good. She come out looking like a victim that was mistreated by Elvis. There was no mention of unfaithfulness. Not really. Yeah, do we agree? Same goes for the Priscilla film. Sofia Coppola wanted to keep Priscilla happy. She was, co-executive producer. Everything was about keeping Priscilla happy. Even the Memphis Mafia, you break them down. Any one of them that did interviews, documentaries, or wrote books, or involved in any kind of TV stuff, it was all done carefully to keep Priscilla happy. And the reason it was done carefully to keep Priscilla happy is because she was the boss. She was the boss. You want to make that book, I'm getting a percentage of the profit, and it's going to be written in a way that doesn't make me look bad. You want to make that movie, okay, but it'll be written in a way that doesn't make me look bad. Oh, and by the way, you're not allowed to mention any other girlfriends. I repeat, no other girlfriends were allowed to be mentioned. Yeah? Come on, guys. Have you seen any movies that Priscilla was involved with that allowed any mention of any girlfriend? No Linda Thompson, no Ginger Alden, no Mindy Miller, none of them. Not even June Junico, Anita Wood, none of them mentioned. How can that happen? How is it that the story has been retold that they met in Germany when she was 14, then they were married for 14 years, Elvis was unfaithful, taking drugs, and they split up? That is how the story has changed. Yeah? When the reality is, Elvis classed himself as a single man until 1966. Priscilla didn't move to America, Graceland, until she was nearly 18. They didn't get married until she was nearly 22, which is the first time they had sex. And they were done and dusted by 68, because after 68, she'd had the affair. A few months after Lisa Marie was born with Steve Peck, they were over. Yes, they had a fake marriage for 18 months, 2 years. Then they had Mike Stone, and Mike Stone was her way out. Her way out. So there was no 14 years of marriage. But the public think Priscilla and Elvis were together for 14 years. Another scam. Another scam. The public think that Elvis was having sex with a 14-year-old girl. Another scam. There was no sex. They met at 14 for between 2 and 6 months. And then Elvis went back to his life, didn't see her again for nearly 3 years. Another scam. Yeah? Then it's people believe that the reason Priscilla divorced Elvis was because he had been unfaithful and was taking drugs, even hinting that he had raped her. When the truth is, the real reason they split up is because she'd been with the dance instructor and Mike Stone, and she demanded a divorce. Another scam. Do you see what's happening here? The whole world have been scammed. This is a monumental scam that started in 1959. This person that Elvis briefly met for 2 to 6 months. I have to say that because I don't know how long they met. I know it was no more than 6 months. Just a close friendship. And then Elvis went back to his life in 1960 to get on with his life, movie making, record making, the Frank Sinatra's show. Yeah? Now then we come to this book. Priscilla says, I'm going to put the wrongs to rights. It's in interviews. You can look at the Terry Wogan interview, but there's others. She decides to write this book. Yeah? I'm going to put wrong to rights. I'm not happy with the way that Elvis has been portrayed by other people, including the Memphis Mafia. I'm going to put things right. She writes this book herself from her point of view. Elvis has no involvement in this book. It's written 7 years after he died. She is his divorcee. She was seriously unfaithful to him. She screwed him over on the divorce settlements, big time. And then this book is launched as history, as fact. This book is a rewriting of history, another scam. This book is another scam, guys. There's nothing in this book that you can prove. Now, this is for entertainment purposes. It's my opinion, some of your opinion. This book has been treated like a historical fact, and interviewers for the last 40 years have been questioning Priscilla based on what's in this book. The movies are created from this book. The storylines from this book. Sofia Coppola's story from this book. Priscilla film. Baz Luhrmann's story from this book. Yeah, isn't it? The TV melodramas from this book. All of the biographies and documentaries from this book. This is the biggest scam in history, guys. And the public have fallen for it. The public, no offense, the public have been stupid. They've been mugged off. This is why this video is called Priscilla Presley, the Graceland Scammer, the original Graceland Scammer. Get what I'm saying, guys? We could go through this book. We could pick out every different part of this book, and none of it can be proved. Every bit. Even she mentions that they almost had sex when they met. Prove it. Who was there? Who was in the room? The only person that is saying it is her. No one else. No one knows what happened. We've got some silly things being said by a few of the Memphis Mafia, which I'm angry that they were said, but they don't know. They weren't there. They weren't in the room with them. They don't know nothing. All they know is that there was a friendship in Germany that only lasted months. That's all they know. So why then? This is all part of the scam, how much of a successful scam it was. Yeah? The most successful scam ever. Even now in 2024, people still are going along with it. Even though she's been exposed with the way she reacted after Lisa Marie died. She's been exposed, you know, with... she doesn't seem to be grieving over Lisa, which is just doesn't make any sense. She's carrying on around the world, acting as if nothing bad has happened in her life, which doesn't add up. She knew that Lisa didn't want the film made. Priscilla, she still goes ahead and promotes it. She disputes Lisa Marie's wishes and has a fallout with Riley. Many things are agreed, all about money. $1 million for Priscilla, a salary, being buried in the meditation garden, her legal fees being paid $400,000 with her own granddaughter. All of the money that is paid to Priscilla comes out of Finley and Harper and Riley's pocket, out of their trust, from their pocket to Priscilla's pocket. How is that right? How is it right that a grandmother is taking vast amounts of money from their own grandchildren? Doesn't add up, guys. Another scam. It's a big scam. Now, the public have fallen for it. Now, we, the fans, we know the truth. We've done our research. We've done our homework. We know, don't we, guys? We know the truth. The public don't. The public think that Elvis was in the wrong. Priscilla was a victim. Elvis was a drug addict, a paedophile, maybe even a rapist, binging on cheeseburgers, dying on the toilet. It's all been twisted in favor of Priscilla. And I like to think that things are starting to change. The corner, the road, the corner has been turned a little bit, and people are starting to realize, oh, we've been hoodwinked, we've been conned, we've been tricked, we've been brainwashed, we've been spoon-fed lies, we've been misled. I like to think we're at the beginning of change. Now, obviously, we are defending Elvis Presley. Fans want the truth. We've Team Elvis. But the title of this video is, this live stream is Priscilla Presley, the real Graceland scammer. The real Graceland scammer. For all the reasons I've told you, and probably quite a few things I've left out. Now let's play this, the entirety of this. It's only a minute long.
After your dad died, I was left really with nothing to work with, and it was a shock when I found out, through all the lawyers and the accountants, that we had nothing really to go back to, because it was either sell Graceland or give it up to the state.
What do you give credit for the preservation of Graceland?
Priscilla, no question about it. For a girl that didn't know too much about anything,
Hands down, there wouldn't be a Graceland today if it wouldn't be for Priscilla.
The estate was literally down to its last $500,000.
I asked, how long do I have? It was less than a year to make the decision if it was going to state or auction it off. I'm thinking of opening it up, and maybe, opening it as a museum. They did not want to do that. They felt that, we should just get rid of it, and that whatever, know who Elvis was, or your dad was, and, less than maybe 5 years, basically. I knew better. I know your dad left us a lot of things to work with.
She did that to save Graceland.
Yep.
And you see, let me go back a little bit, and you see poor Lisa Marie, quite young then, just a teenager, I would say, she's falling for it, she's believing it. But the look on her face, it's hard for you to see it because it's not close up, but she's being spoon-fed lies, a twisted version of the truth. There's no way that it was ever going to get sold. No way. There's no way that Memphis City were going to allow Graceland to not become a living museum. I don't care what anyone says. And she's saying to her own daughter, your father could have been forgotten within 5 years if I didn't do what I did. Yeah? And Lisa did fall for it. I honestly believe that the reason Priscilla and Lisa were close in the younger years was because Lisa Marie had fallen for it, conned, scammed. And I also think that the reason Lisa Marie and Priscilla fell out later on was because Lisa Marie found out the truth. Lisa Marie realized that she had been lied to, scammed. Yeah? Lisa Marie wised up. She became an adult, realized that the wool had been pulled over her eyes, started to see the truth. This is why they could hardly talk. Even in one interview saying that Lisa Marie was ecstatic when she read the Elvis and Me book. When the Elvis and Me book says some very derogatory things about Elvis, talks about Priscilla's unfaithfulness, page 262. But she says that Lisa Marie loved the book, was ecstatic about it. Doesn't make sense. Now let's see if we can see how she speaks to Lisa Marie.
$1,000.
I asked, how long do I have? It was less than a year to make the decision if it was going to state or auction it off. I'm thinking of opening it up, and maybe, opening it as a museum. They did not want to do that. They felt that, we should just get rid of it, and that whatever, know who Elvis was, or your dad was, and, less than maybe 5 years, basically. I knew better. I know your dad left us a lot of things to work with.
She did that to save Graceland.
Yep.
She did that to save Graceland. That's her own mother. Then you've got the father. I know you guys have got strong views about the father and mother of Priscilla. the father saying that she saved Graceland, hands down. She saved Graceland, hands down. Does anyone believe that, guys? Does anyone believe it? I tell you what, yes, they do. The general public believe it. Now, we Elvis fans, we know better. We know better. The general public, no offense to the public, to the non-fans, the non-Elvis fans, maybe even the Priscilla fans who have been tricked. And nothing against Priscilla fans. I've got nothing against Priscilla fans. You're very welcome here. We want to change your mind so we can expose the truth, expose the lies. Yeah? Now, does anyone really believe that Priscilla saved Graceland? Priscilla, it was her idea to launch it as a living museum. Does anyone really believe that Priscilla is the reason that Elvis is remembered, that his legacy has survived? Come on, guys. All I say to you is, if you know, we know, Team Elvis, we know. I say to the non-Elvis fans, I say to the general public, do some homework, do some research, look into the facts, really understand what actually happened in 1959, understand the details of who was unfaithful. I'm not going to whitewash Elvis. In the early 60s, he had girlfriends. He did. He didn't get married until 1967. So through the 60s, he classed himself as a single man. But once Elvis got married and Priscilla was pregnant, he was a loyal man. Priscilla is the one that was unfaithful in 1968, just after Lisa Marie was born, and then again to Mike Stone, the karate instructor. So please take that on board and understand Priscilla was a massive part of the reason that the divorce happened. It wasn't all Elvis's fault. It's not fair to blame Elvis for the divorce when Priscilla was unfaithful. Now, I'm not going to whitewash Elvis and say to you he was innocent. Elvis made mistakes. He was a human being. He messed up. But the way it's portrayed around the world, in every country, in every interview, is that she was the victim, Elvis was the bad guy. All the good that has happened on behalf of Elvis was because of Priscilla. You have to understand, guys, that Priscilla has made an absolute fortune from living off Elvis's name. She gave up the name Presley in 1973. That was part of the agreement, in my opinion. Yeah? She then took it back after Vernon died, 1979. She shouldn't be using the Presley name. She has now gone on to spend the next 40 years acting like his widow. She was never his widow. She was his divorcee that humiliated him publicly, was very unfaithful, and screwed him over for a fortune on a second divorce settlement that she promised she would never do. Yeah? And also, Priscilla, the new ploy, the new way now that she is on interviews, because she hasn't always done this. This thing where she says, Elvis was the love of my life, Elvis was the love of my life. This is a new thing. This is a new thing. She now, in every interview she has, says Elvis was the love of her life, because she hopes that the public are stupid and have forgotten all the storyline, the wrongdoing over the decades, forgotten about her different relationships. Michael Garibaldi Garcia, the father of Navarone, forgotten about him, even though she was with him for 22 years. And Mike Edwards, she was with him for 7 years. He supposedly touched up Lisa Marie. Yeah? The public are expected to forget her wrongdoing. They don't really know about the divorce settlements, how horrific it was. So she goes into every interview, poor me, I love Elvis. I was a victim. I was groomed. I was controlled. Oh, I was so lonely in Graceland. I just needed to find myself. I still love him, though. He's the love of my life. Oh, and by the way, I did allow in one of the TV melodramas for a scene to show that he raped me And I was part of the making of that TV melodrama in 1988. But this person that I insinuated raped me, I want to be buried next to him. I want to be buried next to the man that I divorced. I demanded a divorce. I had sex with other men whilst I was married to Elvis. Elvis had many other girlfriends after they split up, but I want to be buried next to him. I want to be buried next to my ex-husband that I betrayed and ripped him off for millions. I want to be buried next to him so I can be remembered for eternity. I'm not that bothered about being buried next to Lisa Marie and Benjamin. I want to be buried next to Elvis. Do you know what? Let's move some graves. Move some graves around so I can be buried next to Elvis. Don't worry about Lisa Marie and Benjamin. They'll be okay. I want to be buried next to Elvis. Does it make any sense? Not a widow. She was not a widow. She wasn't even a Presley. The way that she treated him, in my mind, is disgusting. Okay, Riley Q is a lovely person. So she's agreed for Priscilla to be buried in the meditation gardens, refused her permission to be buried next to Elvis. Yeah? Priscilla has had to cave in and accept if she does get buried at Gracelands, if it will be somewhere in the meditation gardens. It probably will never happen, to be honest with you. But my point is this. The public have been scammed. The original Graceland scammer, Priscilla Presley. Yeah? Now remember, guys, this is for entertainment purposes. This is my opinions with Team Elvis. I'm not trying to incite hate. I don't hate Priscilla. Priscilla is welcome to apologize to the fans, to the general public, for misleading us, for twisting the truth, for writing a book that was completely a rewriting of history, for twisting the truth, for spoon-feeding the public lies for 40 years. You can apologize for that, Priscilla. You can come to the table, admit wrongdoing, and maybe it's not too late for us to try and forgive you so that we can stand up, hold our heads up high and be proud to be fans. Because at the moment it's embarrassing because we go to people that are just the general public and we show our love for Elvis, but then we get told all the lies about him. And we feel like we have to defend Elvis, defending Elvis Presley, because of many of the things that you put in this book that has been treated like history since 1985. Yeah? You need to apologize. You need to rewrite a book that says the truth. Your book that you're writing next year, which personally I don't think you should write, because you should let Lisa Marie and Riley's book be the last book. But your book, if you're going to write one, please correct the lies in this book. Please tell the real truth. Now, we accept Elvis made mistakes as well. Elvis also was unfaithful. Elvis wasn't a perfect human being. We accept his faults. Yeah? Please tell the truth. Stop the scam. Stop scamming the world. We're not going to fall for it anymore. We're not going to fall for it anymore. You didn't save Graceland. You didn't have the idea to launch the museum. You were unfaithful to Elvis. You did humiliate Elvis. You went too far. You got too greedy with the divorce settlements. Too greedy. And then you spent the next 40 years living off Elvis's name, but also now recently you keep lying, in my opinion, and saying that he was the love of your life when you know damn well that the real love of your life was Michael Garibaldi Garcia. Come on. Wasn't it? You were with him for 22 years. You had his child. Let's face it. Elvis was not the love of your life because you left him how many years ago? 50 years ago. You left Elvis 50 years ago. How can he be the love of your life when you've had loads of new partners? Loads of new partners. but you say he's the love of your life. It infuriates the Elvis fans. You keep saying it. It doesn't make any sense. We just want you to come to the table and admit your wrongdoing. Until you accept the truth and tell the truth, we will always call you the original Graceland scammer. Priscilla Presley, the original Graceland scammer. An apology from you is the beginning of things changing for Elvis so that we can clear Elvis's name. I don't say this in hate. I offer you an olive branch to make things right. It's not too late. I offer you an olive branch. Make things right. That's it, guys. I'm going to have to go and get the kids from school. I don't want to come across hateful to Priscilla. I don't hate Priscilla. I'm not trying to create hate for Priscilla. I want the truth. Fans want the truth. We defend Elvis together. Team Elvis. That's it, guys. I've had my say. Hope you've enjoyed it. I haven't had a chance to read your comments, but I'm going to go through your comments. I'm going to go and get the kids from school, and then I'm going to go through all your comments. I always read your comments, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. A nice little cup of tea with you guys. If you've enjoyed what I do, buy us a coffee. Click the buy me a coffee button, or send me a couple of dollars to PayPal so I can go buy a coffee. Become a member. Hit the membership. It's $1 a month. Please subscribe. Please like. And hit, or you can hit buy me a super, is that what they call it? A super thank you. I do like you guys to show me that you enjoy what I do, to thank me, to make me feel good, to give me a gold star. And your way of doing that is buy me a coffee. I can't think of a better thing to do than getting me a coffee. So thanks, guys. I thought it was quite interesting. Quite interesting. Now, there is a part 1 to this. It's only short, 20 minutes, but this is the main one. This episode is the main one. So I'm going to come back and read your comments later, guys. You take care. I'm sending you all love. I appreciate every one of you. I can't say goodbye to everyone because my kids are waiting for me at school. But you know that you are my friends. You are my family. You mean everything to me. I really appreciate that you join me every day and we can chat together as a little family that are growing, defending Elvis Presley because we want the truth. Check out the 24/7 Facebook page, Defending Elvis Presley. Join the 24-hour chat. There's a 24-hour chat on Defending Elvis Presley, the Facebook page. I'll catch you there. We can carry on chatting. Thanks, guys. Take care. Thanks for buying me a coffee. It means everything to me. Take care, guys. I'll give you a wave.